Welcome to Books Without Borders. Today's review is about a book called The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. This book teaches us not only to change ourselves to adapt to expectations, but also it teaches us that we should embrace and engage with our imperfections. The core insights centre on empathy, understanding and adopting wholehearted living so that we start living for ourselves, not just for other people. Brené Brown is a professor, public speaker, podcaster, best-selling author who has a fresh approach to popular discussions. So firstly, the title, The Gifts of Imperfection. What does it mean? Courage, compassion, and connection are gifts of imperfection. When you choose to be vulnerable with your shame and imperfection, you allow yourself to experience connection and the gifts of imperfection. Today you'll find there are many books centred around the topics of self-help, bettering yourself, the ideas and ideals of love, belonging, and worthiness. The difference with Brown's book is she approaches it from a slightly different angle. She offers a unique insight because it's based on her research around shame. In our eyes, Brown is a researcher, but she describes herself as something called a story catcher. Brown has been able to explore many different people's concerns and ideas regarding vulnerability and shame. With her experiences and personal reflections, Brown suggests some shifts that we all need to make to engage in life from a place of worthiness, or in other words, to live wholeheartedly. Brown discusses this something called wholehearted living. But what is it? Wholehearted living is a philosophy about being able to wake up every morning and think, no matter what gets done or how much is left undone, I am enough. Wholehearted living is a process that never stops. It's the opposite of a one-time choice. It is also having the ability to go to bed at night and acknowledging our imperfections, vulnerabilities, and fears. Brown maintains that despite our flaws, the ultimate truth is that every human can be brave and is worthy of love and belonging. We are taught that wholeheartedness is a skill that anyone can learn. But according to Brown, there is one particular step that you need to make first. It means letting go of the search for perfection. And it also means stopping the need to want to please others constantly. Furthermore, which is probably one of the most difficult things to do, is learning to embrace who we are and accepting all of our flaws. Brown explains to us that in life, you have two choices on how to live your life. You can let go of yourself and stop living the fake life for others. Or you can embrace who you are and own your life story. Brown explains in doing this, you'll end up loving life, others, but mainly loving yourself better when you're authentic. The reality and truth is, as Brown explains to us, that we connect with others through our vulnerabilities and not our perfect facades. The gift of imperfection doesn't deny that embracing ourselves and who we are is extremely difficult. It takes courage, compassion, and authentic connection. After collecting thousands of stories from men and women, Brown discovers things like rest, play, faith, authenticity, and gratitude promote wholehearted living. And perfection, numbing, fitting in, judgment, and scarcity curb it. Brown hopes this book will guide people on the journey towards wholehearted living, because when you remove your masks, you feel healthier, more joyful, and more peaceful. Worry less about what people think, accept your flaws, enjoy fulfilling relationships, live life on your terms, And, most importantly, you feel deserving of love and respect. Overall, the book just isn't theoretical advice like a self-help book. The difference is that Brown tells personal stories and experiences during her journey of self-discovery, and then offers 10 practical guideposts to wholehearted living, and provides daily practices to help us on this journey. I thoroughly enjoyed this book, and I was extremely surprised. I am generally anti-self-help, but what drew me to reading Brown's book was because she wasn't just offering advice, she was sharing her personal stories. Brown was able to be honest and funny at the same time, but also had the ability to be extremely informative while putting it all out there on the table about herself. Unlike most self-help books, with psychobabble and rules you have to religiously follow, Brenny tells stories, research of her stories that she has collected. I personally think that this book is a great starting point for those who think they can strive for perfection, or that achievement in the world's eyes will find fulfillment. What I loved about her book was that Brenny doesn't just give advice on how to be perfect. Brenny uses fantastic examples and personal stories, well-conveyed research, and good tips for getting started on living with gratitude and joy, rather than with workaholism and shame. Honestly, I felt a little bit reluctant at first, because as much as I read the back and I thought it was a book for me, the term wholehearted living sounded like I had to be some sort of spiritual person or someone who meditates every day to find their inner something, or spending many hours pondering over the meaning of life, and whose only emotional seems to be calmness, which seems a bit impossible really. However, I can assure you it isn't any of that. Wholehearted living means, in short, to stay true to yourself. It means that you do what makes you happy and not what you think is expected of you, or even the unfair expectations you put on yourself. I really enjoyed the writing style of this book a lot. It felt like a combination between an autobiography and a self-help book. Brenny writes about her research and writing strategy and about her own journey towards accepting herself and her imperfections. These anecdotes, examples, are accompanied by information on how to handle certain situations and feelings. However, one personal criticism would be the amount of information is sometimes a little limited, and I wish sometimes Brenny would just dive a little bit deeper. The biggest takeaway I found from Brenny's book is we use our spare time to search for joy and meaning in our lives. We think accomplishments and acquisitions will bring joy and meaning, but their pursuit could be the very thing that's keeping us so tired and afraid to slow down. Owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running away from it. Embracing our vulnerabilities is risky, but it's not as nearly as dangerous as giving up on love and belonging and joy. The experiences that make us the most vulnerable. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. If we want to live and love with our whole hearts, and if we want to engage with the world from a place of worthiness, we have to talk about the things that get in the way, especially shame, fear, and vulnerability. I personally walked away with some strategies to work on, being my most authentic self, but I think the most important thing I walked away with was having a better understanding of vulnerability, courage, compassion, and connection. I do recommend reading this book if you're looking for a general outline of what it takes to boost your self-esteem. We can all use a reminder from the gifts of imperfection. Accept your vulnerability, the core of your emotions. Believe that you're enough, and finally, be kind to yourself. This book really helped me start to put things in perspective when I was at one of those major milestone crossroads of life. Sometimes we just need a little help remembering to own our story, or that we are worthy now. Whether you're at a life-changing crossroad or getting a new job, moving, becoming a parent, becoming an empty nester, etc., or just looking for some direction on how to live a more authentic life, this book could be just what you need. I'll leave you with one of my favourite quotes from the book. "The dark does not destroy the light, it defines it. It's our fear of the dark that casts our joy into the shadows."